Olympic security boss faces assault claims. Nurses vent their anger at proposed hospital job cuts. And 51 people struck down with food poisoning after eating peanut butter. Good evening. The position of the senior policeman in charge of security for the Sydney Olympics is under review tonight after he was accused in the Wood Royal Commission of assaulting a prisoner. A detective who is rolled over to the inquiry has backed up the allegations of the prisoner that Detective Superintendent John Garvey sprayed him with mace.
Just over a year ago, Superintendent John Garvey landed the prestigious Olympic Games job. But today he was before the Royal Commission defending what had been a shining career amid allegations he'd assaulted a man arrested for housebreaking. His alleged victim, codenamed YM1, was sentenced to 17 years jail but claims he was framed by police. He says he was assaulted at Sutherland Police Station by former Inspector John Davidson before being repeatedly attacked with mace by Garvey until he cooperated. It was very painful, it was very distressing, very traumatic. My head was throbbing. A secret police witness who has rolled over to the Commission accused Garvey of using the mace for no good reason at all. He said police then lied under oath to ensure the suspect went to jail. While Garvey admitted to using the tear gas, he said he had no choice after YM1 threw a punch at another officer and then barricaded himself inside an interview room. Garvey, who has been a member of the Olympic Organising Committee for 2 years, insisted he'd never been involved in any form of corruption, but he acknowledged he could go to jail if he was lying. Garvey's Olympic position is now under review, prompting a call by the opposition for a full investigation.
And it's in the interest, as I say, of the individual and the Olympics to have it cleared up quickly.
Christine Spiteri, National 9 News.
Nurses remain on a collision course with the state government tonight over the proposed revamp of our hospital system. Hundreds walked off the job at Cogra today, joining a protest against plans for the hospital to be merged with St Vincent's.
Anger turned to rage at St George Hospital today. As many as 1,800 jobs are expected to be lost when the merger with St Vincent's goes ahead, 900 of them nursing staff.
It'll be 2 lots of nurses going for half the amount of jobs, and that's just nurses, and I think that's appalling.
A lone St Vincent's nurse was first treated as the enemy.
I mean, we don't want to come to St George. And believe me, I'm not offended.
But she later convinced the crowd that all nurses were united in trying to stop the merger. The nurses say they've just begun to fight. They plan to hold rallies all this week at 18 hospitals across the state that will be affected by job losses because of the merger. The nurses unanimously passed 4 resolutions, all of them aimed at rejecting the takeover. Today, the Health Minister gave this assurance.
Every staff member who wants to stay in the healthcare system will get a job at the same rate of pay.
Meanwhile, the Mayor of Cogra warns he'll block the project. His main concern, a lack of parking.
The existing hospital car parking station is full by 8 a.m. in the morning.
Shari Armistead, National 9 News.
51 people have now been struck down with salmonella poisoning from a bad batch of peanut butter, and national health authorities fear there will be more. The manufacturer has stopped production until the source of the contamination is found. Meanwhile, 9 types of the popular spread have been recalled.
18-month-old Paige is home from hospital after suffering a severe bout of gastroenteritis. Today, tests confirm she and her 2.5-year-old brother are suffering from a rare strain of salmonella poisoning.
Reese has been bleeding from the bowel. Paige was very dehydrated and was under observation in hospital.
Unaware of the dangers, Sandy Tomlin has been feeding her children peanut butter daily over the past 4 weeks.
That's the culprit of all the sickness.
While 51 cases of salmonella have been confirmed, health officials suspect many more Australians have been affected.
Given that we know that not every person who has gastro has a specimen submitted for culturing for salmonella, it probably means there are many more cases, or at least many more infections.
Supermarkets today were emptying their shelves of the recalled brands, which include Daffodil, Farmland and Eater Crunchy. The Health Department, which is urging consumers to return any of the products to shops, believes the likely source of the contamination is animals.
It's quite possible that in some part of the world, or even indeed Australia, that colonies of rodents have this particular salmonella, but we don't know that.
The hotline number for consumers, 1800 034 241, was swamped today and will continue to operate around the clock. Belinda Byrne, National 9 News.
A Wollongong teenager accused of murdering 3 members of his family has been refused bail for the second time in 2 days. Matthew de Grucci allegedly killed his mother, sister and brother 3 months ago, then made it appear like a violent break-in. Today, his lawyers told the court that the prosecution case is based on smear and innuendo and the 18-year-old should be released. However, the magistrate refused bail and adjourned the case until the end of next month. Former Premier Nick Greiner has told a Sydney court that his disgraced former colleague Barry Morris has a heart of gold. Mr. Morris is being sentenced after he was found guilty of making bomb and death threats.
Friends and supporters of Barry Morris showed up in force today, even former Premier Nick Greiner going into bat for him. Asked about Morris's larger-than-life political style, Mr. Greiner said, "I think Mr. Morris basically has a heart of gold. He pursued what he saw as the interests of his electorate his way. He wasn't a shrinking violet." It was Morris's vendetta against Blue Mountains councillor John Pascoe that finally landed him in jail 3 weeks ago. The jury found him guilty of making phone calls, threatening to kill Mr. Pascoe and bomb the local council chambers. On each occasion, he tried to disguise his voice with ridiculous accents.
"Hello, you rotten Mongoloid Chinese, I'm going to kill you."
Apart from political colleagues, a string of friends were called upon to defend Morris today, describing him as a top bloke, tough in business, but a real softy at heart. His defence counsel said his client was an old man in frail health, who had already suffered public humiliation. He asked Judge Shadbolt to consider a community service order, possibly some light gardening work, rather than a jail term. His sentence will be handed down tomorrow morning. Deborah Cornwall, National 9 News.
7 local councils in Sydney are being allowed to increase their rates above the standard 2.7%. Camden gets the biggest rise. Its ratepayers face a hike of 10%. The increases were approved today by Local Government Minister Ernie Page. The Prime Minister has promised that the formula for setting pension levels will not be changed. Mr. Howard gave the undertaking after the opposition claimed that recommendations from the government's Audit Commission would reduce pension payouts by 15%.
The Audit Commission report presented last Friday with its recommendations to slug nursing home patients, introduce Medicare co-payments and fiddle with the pension formula was manna from heaven for the opposition.
It's the Liberal plan for the next decade. Anyone who votes Liberal now does so with open eyes. They know that it means the dismantling of Medicare. They know it means dismantling of the protection for the aged.
An annoyed Health Minister ruled out co-payments.
I don't know how many times people have got to say it. Eventually someone will get sick of asking it.
The Social Security Minister was even more tetchy under questioning about some of the proposals in the Senate.
If the Commission of Audit had suggested that it would be cheaper to eat all babies at birth, do you think that the Labor Party would be running that as whether it's a policy commitment?
But the pension issue was the big danger area, and the Prime Minister knew it.
There will be no mucking around with pension levels.
The Audit Commission canvassed setting pensions at 25% of total average weekly earnings, 15% lower than the present benchmark, male average weekly earnings.
This government will not be playing around with the formula. We will be maintaining the value of the pensions.
What neither Mr Howard nor Mr Costello admitted, though, is that the government itself asked the Audit Commission to consider a change in the benchmark. The Commission report contains a letter saying the Prime Minister, the Treasurer and the Finance Minister had discussed the issue and were particularly interested in it. Laurie Oakes, Canberra.
A crippled commuter jet has made an emergency landing in the United States. Hydraulic failure locked up the undercarriage as the aircraft made its final approach to Orlando International Airport. Air traffic controllers directed the plane to a closed runway where the pilot executed a perfect belly landing. The 32 passengers and crew escaped unhurt. In the news ahead, claims that Hillary Clinton talks to the dead, and an emotional farewell for Desmond Tutu.
There's a new way to pay for shares in Australia's biggest share offer. It's called Sale by Instalment. You only pay $6 per share now, and then the balance by November 1997, while still getting all the benefits of any franked dividends payable by the bank in the meantime. This special offer is only available for the public share offer by the Australian government of which bank? The Commonwealth Bank. To find out more and to order your offer document, simply phone 13 33 88 or pick up a copy from your nearest Commonwealth Bank branch and share in something big.
Hi, I'm the little man inside the fridge who turns the light on and off. And boy, am I busy now Kraft cheese spreads moved in. Up early every morning because everyone wants it for breakfast. Kraft cheese spread tastes great. Then at lunchtime, out it goes again for delicious sandwiches. Personally, I love Kraft cheese spread for snacks on the run. Yum. Whoops, here we go again. Kraft cheese spread spreads morning, noon and night.
The prices are still too hot to miss at the Kmart Stocktake sale. Rush in and save with 15% off all game software titles and a big screen 51cm TV for an unbelievable $449. The Kmart Stocktake sale. Don't miss it.
Take action.
The new Triple Action Flex formula introduces 3 real hair care benefits. It fortifies with provitamin B5, nourishes with silk protein, protects with vitamins A and E and moisture-locking agents. Get new Triple Action Flex.
Take action.
To find out more about sale by installment with the Commonwealth Bank public share offer, just phone 13 33 88 for your offer document. It has details of the newest way to share in something big.
The controversial Eastern Distributor could finally be built after the federal government today reinstated big tax breaks. The state government says the move is a major incentive for private developers to build the tunnel under Taylor Square, Sydney's worst traffic black spot. Building workers have stormed the office of a senior Liberal Party official in Melbourne to protest against the government's decision to tax their travel allowances.
Let's go! Here we go! Here we go!
Inside, about 50 workers occupied the office of Party Treasurer Ron Walker, who, as it turned out, wasn't there. Police in southwest Sydney say they've cracked a stolen car racket with the arrest of 9 people at Liverpool and Bonnyrigg. They recovered over 100 cars worth more than $500,000.
In 9 months, police say the gang stole enough cars to fill a warehouse. The identity of each vehicle was swapped with a wreck and sold at a price slightly cheaper than market rates. Police say from the time a car was stolen, it took as little as 3 days to be back on the market to be purchased by unsuspecting buyers. After a series of arrests overnight, 6 people were charged. Liverpool Court was told one of the men, an unemployed tractor driver, was the mastermind and would pay a network of thieves to supply him with stolen cars. All but one of the men were granted bail and they'll appear again in August. While that group was appearing in court, police quizzed 2 men whose vehicles were parked on the street outside. After a search and a check of the car's compliance plates, the men were taken to Liverpool Police Station for further questioning. And then later today, detectives arrested a Maryland's car salesman. He's still being interviewed tonight as well. Darren Curtis, National 9 News.
More trouble for peace in the Middle East at the end of a summit of Arab leaders. They sent a clear message that Israel must return all occupied lands or risk derailing the talks.
The Arabs are supporting peace and would like the peace process to continue because there is no other way else.
But the stance angered Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu.
The peace process cannot be made hostage to any prior conditions.
The summit was prompted by Netanyahu's recent election victory. In Greece, the body of former Prime Minister Andreas Papandreou has been moved to the main Orthodox cathedral in Athens. Almost lost in the crush was his third wife, Dimitra, who joined thousands to pay their last respects. Papandreou spent the past 4 months in hospital with pneumonia. He died yesterday, aged 77. He'll be buried on Wednesday. An emotional ceremony has marked the end of Desmond Tutu's reign as South Africa's Archbishop. Known as the Pink Panther because of his colourful religious gowns, for 20 years he carried the fight against apartheid while other black leaders were in jail.
The Pink Panther is going to miss you. Thank you very much.
It's not the end of public life for Tutu. He'll continue as head of South Africa's Truth Commission, which is investigating the crimes of the apartheid regime. It seems Hillary Clinton, America's First Lady, can't get all the answers from the living, so when she needs advice, she seeks the help of the dead. According to a new book, she frequently turns to the dear departed for a spirited conversation.
Already battling several scandals in this election year, the Clintons could have done without the revelation in the new book by Watergate journalist Bob Woodward. In the White House solarium last year, Hillary Clinton, guided by famous psychics Jean Houston and Mary Catherine Bateson, had a conversation with former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, who died in 1962, as though she was in the room. The subject of the discussion, the frustrations of being First Lady. Mrs. Clinton also had a similar talk with Indian independence leader Mahatma Gandhi. No big deal, according to the White House.
The First Lady is a human being like everybody else. She seeks out guidance from her friends, from advisors, from others.
In fact, Mrs. Clinton has often referred to her strange relationship with Eleanor Roosevelt.
As I was sitting here this evening, I thought about all of the conversations that I have had in my head with Mrs. Roosevelt this year.
Nancy Reagan was ridiculed when she consulted astrologers during her husband's presidency. Clinton opponents today could not help themselves.
They sound a little flaky to me. They may be a little weird.
And bound to be a godsend for America's comedians in an election year. In the United States, Nick McCallum, National 9 News.
Sporting honours for businessman Kerry Packer, leading his team to victory in one of the Polo world's most prestigious championships. On the lawns at Windsor, Mr. Packer's team, Elliston White, was doing battle with Alcatel for the Queen's Cup. It ended with a 4-2 victory to Mr. Packer, who later received the winner's trophy from the Queen. On the stock market, the All Ordinaries gained 3.1. Our dollar is steady. Well, Ken's over at Wimbledon, where the tournament begins tonight. And Ken, the weather forecast good?
It's nice and fine, around 21 degrees, so we're looking forward to a full day's play. That's next, Hendo. And tempers flare at the European soccer.
What on earth's going on? What's happening here?
The hidden costs of running your car. You'll be surprised how you rate.
Holden Commodore represents the best value for money.
Plus truckies and drugs. It's rampant and it's a lethal cocktail.
Sergeant, would you take your family out on interstate highways?
Personally, I wouldn't, no.
That's next.
Ask me what sort of a day I've had.
What sort of a day?
Don't ask. My red George due. The car's in for service. It needs new tyres, a new exhaust. Then there's the insurance. And I have to pay it all in one hit. Doesn't make sense.
NZI gives you the option of paying your car insurance by the month. Just a thought.
Call NZI 131544 for pay-by-the-month insurance.
Who is Liz Hurley's new $100 million man? No idea. Is Lisa Ondieki super fit or anorexic? No idea. What comes first for Christy Brinkley? Career or kids? No idea. Why did Lisa McEwen's lover move out? Find out in this week's news.